All right, I'm making a video here about something that I swore that I would never try to condense down into a sound bite. And I'm going to try to balance that here. In the past, when people have asked me the question about dosing herbs, I have often said it's a nuanced discussion. It requires a question and answer and some back and forth. There's different contexts. So it's hard to just give an answer as simple as take 2 aspirin and call me in the morning, because herbs don't really work like that most of the time for most people. And let me put that as a caveat here, is that what I'm talking about are tendencies. These are not hard and fast rules. One of the mistakes that is made in medicine, let's call it that, I guess, in the medical system, is that they boil everybody down into the same, as if we're the same person. They put us in the same box. And it doesn't really work because each of our bodies is actually different. So let's talk about dosing simply within the context of tonic versus acute. And what I mean by that is that there's a belief that some people have that herbs only work if you take them for prolonged periods of time, over weeks or months or even years. And yes, that is a really effective way to deal with chronic health issues, is to take herbs tonically. And if you're looking for a tonic, or how to dose, how much to take of a tonic, there's one way to approach that, which is very different from the way that you would approach in a herbal first aid situation, or what I call acute, where you just have a different objective, let's say. So let's talk about the tonic first really quick. There's a standard dose that is not applied with much nuance. It's written on every one of my bottles, and it's kind of standard. If you go to a health food store, you'll find it. It says 2 milliliters twice a day. Now, in this video, we are not going to talk about constitutions and about how to dose according to your body type. That's a separate conversation from right now. So if you're taking herbs tonically, you're going to take them twice a day, generally 2 to 3 milliliters twice a day. That means of a 50 ml tincture bottle, one of these guys here, when you do 1 squirt of this, you get about, oh, this bottle's empty, that's really funny. You get about 0.7. When you just squeeze the plunger once, you get about 0.7 of a milliliter, which means you want to take 3 squirts to get 2 milliliters, because 0.7 times 3 is 2.1. That means you're going to take about 4 milliliters every day, which means a 50 ml bottle like this is going to last you 50 divided by 4. It's going to last you about 12 days, maybe 14. And so most of the time, if you're taking a tonic, then taking a small bottle or buying a small bottle, it's not that effective, because if you're taking it every day, then it should only last about 2 weeks. What I suggest for people is get a bigger bottle. This is a 100 ml bottle. This is twice the size of this. You can start with a small bottle to make sure that it feels good in your body, so that you're not outlaying a whole lot of money. Because with tonics, when you take them, if they don't feel right in your body, you're going to know it right away. If they do feel good in your body, you might not notice it for a while, because the idea is you take it for a while and it just steadily improves things. Although I really believe that for those of us who are able to quiet our minds, pay attention to the response that our body gives, then you can take even a single drop of a tincture and know whether it's a yes from your body or a no from your body. Usually the no is stronger than the yes. And so just work with that. Again, for the sake of time, I'm not going into a lot of detail about that. If you're taking 2 mils twice a day, you really want to get a larger bottle like this, or an even larger bottle, and just refill these as you need to. Now notice that this has a bigger pipette here. So every drop of this is actually a little bit over a milliliter. So you would take 2 of those twice a day instead of 3 of the smaller ones twice a day. Okay, so that's the tonic stuff. Let's talk about acute. Let's talk about a herbal first aid kind of scenario here. What I mean is, you've got a cold or flu coming on, like I just picked up, this is my immune support blend. If I had a cold or flu, I felt that tickle, I had some sneezing that I knew wasn't related to allergies or something like that. I wasn't grinding some fresh pepper and and got it stuck in my nose, I thought it was an immunological response that was going on there, then I actually take a fair bit. Now, I take what my first herb teacher, Seven Song, he talked about as a herbalist dose. Because I make it, it's much more affordable, and I can go through it. I can also be a little bit more impatient. And where with with tonics, a little bit like homeopathics, they can be helpful to take lower doses for longer periods of time. It's about the subtleties. Whereas when I get sick or I feel like I'm getting sick, I take usually 3 to 4 squirts of this, which is maybe even 5, which is going to be close to, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 mils, maybe like a teaspoon. And I'll take it every hour when I first get those first symptoms, because I want to support my immune response to get that virus or that bacterial infection as quickly as possible and to deal with it and get rid of it. So that's for like a cold or a flu or a symptom-based kind of immune response, or a acute response, I mean. Now, if this was my anxiety away or my chill me out blend, again, if I'm panicked, if I'm stressed out, I'm gonna take squirts. I'm gonna take enough squirts until my body goes, because here's the secret about herbs that are called nervines or anxiolytics, things that downregulate your nervous system and reduce your anxiety, reduce your stress. They actually work best to just relax you enough for you to have that sigh. Because without breathing, the body, the nervous system cannot move in to the parasympathetic state, the rest and digest state. You'll stay activated in that vigilant, hyperarousal, triggered kind of place, the fight or flight. So when you're taking herbs that are for stress or anxiety, take enough, keep taking them until you sigh. That's the thing to look for. Now, there's another category, or at least one more category, which I'm not going to go into a lot of depth on here, but it's the category of like pain. If you're treating pain with herbs, again, I tend to dose kind of high, but I don't do it in the same way as I do when it's stress or anxiety related. I will dose every 10 to 15 minutes, depending, this is where the constitutional stuff comes in that I'm not talking about in this video. Generally, more sensitive people get lower doses, less sensitive people get higher doses. That's the nutshell. And so I will take, or I give some herbs, I might give some arnica for a sprained ankle, and I'll give a couple of drops. Now, arnica is an example of only low dose herbs. It's like 1 to 3 drops. That's it, not droppers, just drops. And I'll give that every 10 to 15 minutes, or as the pain comes up again. And that can be brilliant. You can use white willow bark, or I use weeping willow as my willow of preference, or other pain remedies, sedatives to help reduce the pain. And you want to do that gradually, because you don't want to be too sedated too quickly. And then I'm going to couch all of this. Everything that I've shared here is a general standard kind of approach, which might be different from you or from the person that you're treating. Okay, so I really want to put that frame on this, that you are going to know best as you get familiar with the herbal remedies that you make or that you're buying. Get familiar with what works for you in what doses, and then you can just start with that. If you know that when you're really stressed, or if you're in a lot of pain, maybe you've got really bad menstrual cramps, then you're just going to start with 2 teaspoons, because that's what it normally takes when you do little bits. And it's like, because sometimes, here's another piece, sometimes at least with pain, or a number of these things that are down-regulating and sedatives, pain relievers, when a little works a little bit, then more works better. So you can figure out by taking bits at a time how much pain is relieved, and the next time you just start at that point and go from there. I hope this has been clear. I realize it's now a 10-minute video, which I was not intending, but I think this is useful, and I would love to hear your comments below. if you want more information, I will say the reason I'm doing this is because twice a year I do an apothecary sale for my clients and for my community. Right now is one of those times. And people are asking me these questions so that they can figure out what to buy and how much to buy. And so I just thought I would make a video that answered some of these questions so that I can just send that link instead of the long explanation each and every time, which is, it's nice, it's sweet, and hopefully this will be a bit more efficient for all of our time. And so I would love to hear if you have still questions, things that come up, comments, feedback, then please post it below, send me an email. I do teach a herbal first aid class where we go into a lot more depth about how to dose, specifically in these acute first aid situations, so that you can have a sense where we do talk more about the constitutional stuff that I was talking about, because not every body is the same. And the medical system has only recently and only sort of realized that not everybody is a 22-year-old male body. And so it's important to understand what actually works for you, which is why I've hesitated to give answers to this in the past, because I don't know. I don't want this to be a hard and fast rule that anybody is taking away from this, because it's not. Anyway, I'm Garlic with the Living Medicine Project. I hope that has been helpful, and I will talk to you soon.